And we are live. Welcome to the sixth episode of the Martial Art Mastery Podcast. I am your guest, Master Jonathan Field of Kokoro Taekwondo, and we have a special guest here. We have the original ISKA World Champion, the Iron Man of Ishimura Karate, Sensei Mike Reeves. How are you doing, sir?
Good, sir. How are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. So, you and I have known each other briefly since 2008 when I started competing back in the ISKA. I started competing in the US Opens back in 2007 with Frankie, and that's how you and I know each other. But like I just said, you're like the original ISKA Frankie, the original ISKA world champion. I believe you're 10-time world champion?
Yes, between the world titles that I won at the U.S. Open and all the world records that I've set there, they were all ISKA events.
So let's start way back when. So what I want to get back to the beginning. So, what got you started in martial arts?
Well, I started in martial arts in 1972 in a style called Ishinryu, which is a traditional Okinawan style, and I've been practicing that and training in that ever since 1972 in that one style. I've cross trained with a lot of other martial artists over the years, like many people, but my predominant style, the one that I truly love, is Ishinryu.
So, what was it that drew you to Israel specifically compared to the other styles?
Well, yeah, it's a funny story because I actually went to see, which had just been coming out at that point, Bruce Lee Enter the Dragon, and my sister had started in Ishinryu first, and when I saw her, I was 13 years old, and I said, "Hey, I want to try that." So, and there you go. Ever since then, I rarely have missed a day of training.
So now from there, what got you into the competitive side of martial arts? Like, did you start with breaking? Were you doing kata? Were you doing point sparring, continuous sparring?
Well, we've always, like most dojo, we do a lot of everything, really. We have kobudo, we have weapons katas that we do, we have empty hand forms, we have a lot of self defense moves. So for me, it was the attraction that I went to the dojo after watching this Bruce Lee movie, basically, and seeing good traditional martial arts being done and all the things that I could learn. I was just hooked right away. And but it was that original Bruce Lee movie, and I'm really dating myself, but it was back when the TV show Kung Fu was on. So all those things just drove me in, and then from there, my sensei was a very traditional sensei still today, and we always went to tournaments. We would fight at tournaments. We do weapons at tournaments. We do empty hand kata. We pretty much did across the board for anybody that wanted. So early on, I didn't
Okay.
fight and kata and kobudo. And as the years went by, just because of all the makiwara training that we did in the dojo, breaking, we would do that for demonstrations. And it wasn't until later on in my career, probably 20 years into being in martial arts, that I really started pushing the breaking and trying to get it organized so we could do a competition that was not only statewide or nationwide, but worldwide.
Very good. So, yeah, so like I said, people know us both as mainly rankers in the martial arts compared to all the other stuff. I know here we've done, the katas, we've done the weapons form, we've done the open hand, sparring, we've done everything as well like that. And I think it's really important for schools to encourage their students to do tournament, regardless of what level they want to do them at. But I think it's really important that people do tournament, especially for the sportsmanship, the extra dedication to perfecting their style,
Mm-hmm.
and so forth.
Well, you know what, with martial arts, I look at it as a big pie, and you need an even slice of the whole pie to be a complete martial artist. So you can't just do breaking and Tamashawara and also Makiwara training. You got to add in the kata, you got to add in the kobudo, the weapons, and then you got to do self-defense training along with cardiovascular and everything else that goes with martial arts training. So breaking in itself is a slice of the pie. It just so happens that guys like you and me and a handful of other guys there in the world have gotten to be very good at it. And but that just comes with a lot of training. I tell my students, anybody that wants to listen, it's like there's nothing magical or mystical about what we do. It's just hard work, hard training, hard, kind of sometimes brutal training. But you know what? In the old days, and I've been blessed to train with a lot of guys that trained in Okinawa back in the 50s and 60s. And it was hardcore. The way we train, that's the way they train. They to the point where Makiwara training was almost 50% of their training. So they considered if you weren't punching and hitting and striking a Makiwara, that you really weren't doing karate or martial arts.
Well, and the results speak for themselves. Like you can definitely tell that competition, the guys that have put in the work, they tend to do better versus the guys that haven't. But also, like, there's like a lot of people out there that think that what we do is fake or is easy. Okay, well, go hit that stack of wood. Okay, you can break that stack. Now do it again. Okay, now do it again. Yep, do it again. After a while, they're going to stop where we have the ability to keep going. But it translates into self-defense or fighting where you might have to hit that one guy several times, or you might have to take out several people. You just can't hit somebody once and get yourself injured, you know?
Yeah. The Okinawan's called Aiken Haizatsu. One punch, one kill. One strike, you should be able to maim your opponent. I'm not saying that works all the time, but a well-placed strike. And if you're used to punching the Makiwara, and I tell people, Tamashawara breaking, it's good to do, but like you had just mentioned, make it practical for the street. Because what I'll do is I'll set up with my students like a break that they have to go through. There may be 3 stations, 4 stations with multiple attackers. Now show me, I want you to do the break. And then afterwards, when you're done with the break, I want you to show me the self-defense aspect that you would have used for all those multiple attackers. So then you put Tamashawara breaking into the practical application for the street. If I hear boards don't hit back one more time, it's just like people that say that don't realize that Bruce Lee actually broke boards. Okay, so they and I always say, you know what? It's just we're not here to please everybody. We're just doing what we do, and we like what we do. We spend a lot of time preparing for it and training for it. So it's open to everybody. All styles are good. We're not saying the breakers are the baddest dudes in the world. We're just saying we train hard. We know how to hit. We hit hard. And there it is. You don't have to brag.
Well, exactly. And the results speak for themselves. No, like, I was actually just training earlier with a few of my students with the rebreakable board. And yeah, like, when you touch through them, yeah, you'll feel it. But when you get that on, when it doesn't break, you can say the physics behind it. Whatever force you deliver it into the break, and if it doesn't break, twice that force bounces back at you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it definitely hits fast for sure. Now thinking of that self defense aspect of breaking, I got 2 different areas I want to cover on that. Number one, a lot of people may not realize, but you were at one point you worked as a bodyguard.
Yes. I spent some time working as a corrections officer in Pennsylvania, and that led to me actually getting some gigs as a bodyguard. So it started out small, and then before you know it, I was working for some more prominent individuals. I did some work for Steven Tyler from Aerosmith, Garth Brooks, a whole variety of people in the entertainment industry. And then I went to work for corporations. I used to work for Harcourt Brace Ivanovich, which at one time owned all the Sea Worlds and the Busch Gardens, and I would travel around with all the corporate executives whenever they needed my services. So So, that was one thing that the martial arts led to that. I think one thing always leads to another. And I spent some time, about 15 years, doing that before I opened up a dojo like full time and just settled down, you know?
Yeah, no, that is the one interesting thing about martial arts is it does open up a lot of doors for so many different areas that you can go into, like you said, bodybuilding. There's a lot of the younger ones that are doing a lot of stunt acting for like Walt Disney and Star Wars and all that stuff. Like I said, bodybuilding or well, not bodybuilding too. There's a lot of different avenues that martial arts can you can apply to for sure. So now, as a bodyguard, was there any did you ever have any situations where you actually had to physically use your martial arts? I know we always say that we use our martial arts every day by avoiding fights and using our self discipline, but was there ever a couple incidents where you physically had to use the physical martial arts to defend one of your clients or something along that line?
Yeah, there's always going to be something that pops up. When I worked in corrections, that was, probably one of the main reasons that I went to corrections because I had just gotten my black belt, and I thought, you know, there would be a job that I may want to do the rest of my life, may not, but it would use my skills. And then I was on a special response team within the prison, also. So if anything bad went down, we were usually the first guys they would call in. So and then after that, there's random stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of stories of, there when you're a bodyguard, you just have to do that. It's more of perceiving what could happen before it does happen. You know, if you've already gotten into a fight situation, you let it get too far. You know, you should perceive these things as a good. And I would always run a team. So I had people that work with me and I trusted them. They trusted me. And if you do your job right, all you do is you just escort people away and you really don't have to take. There's been a couple times, but that's just part of it. And most of the time, if you just take somebody down hard, usually that's over. Usually, uh, you got the upper hand of that. You've not been drinking all night, so there you go. And but yeah, as far as one single instance, yeah, there's been so many that you know, but they were like that. Nothing serious where a knife or a gun was pulled out on any of the jobs that I did here. So
Yeah, no, like that. Well, you just spoke about like situational awareness, right? When that's what we teach with our self-defense. You have to be very aware of the situations in front of you and be able to have that ability to de-escalate if at the right moments. There's times where you can't, but at all costs, we always want to try to de-escalate and not have to fight or defend ourselves if we can choose to do that avenue versus the physical. Physical is definitely always the last resort
yeah,
for sure.
oh, by far, nobody really wants to get into a fight. You know, they just happen. They just
For
happen.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Especially when you have a black belt or somebody knows you have a black belt, you tend to be a little bit of a target sometimes. I know
yeah,
I've had that. It's always at bars too. I've had that a couple times at bars where, oh, I've been on your Facebook. I know you're blah 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 blah, and then they start, one challenging you and all that stuff. And like, dude, you're drunk, bro.
yeah.
You know,
Well, it's just like there again. You're in a bar. Pretty much most martial artists are very disciplined. So, but I used to run security in a couple clubs earlier on, and you'd always have guys again that you just had to escort out. There's only been a couple circumstances where, like I said, you have to take somebody down and just try to get them to relax a little bit, and then you can escort them out.
for sure. Now, let's go to the genesis of competitive ranking, or at least in North America, it's the ISKA
Mhm.
competitive ranking. So, how did that start? How did you guys start the original ISKA World Championship ranking?
That's a good story. um, Years and years ago, we used to have this circuit in Florida. It was called the Fame Circuit, and
Okay.
so all the people would go there. They'd have 300, 400. people per tournament, and they had like 15 tournaments a year. Mike Sawyer and Mike McCoy and Corey Schaefer were always there naturally because they were good promoters and they were promoting the U.S. Open. So I would see them at all the events, and we became friends many, many, many years ago. And then it was just a natural evolution. I always did breaking. So, all of a sudden I asked Corey and Mike what they thought about putting a breaking competition into play. And, we talked about it for a couple years. And then finally we tried it one year at the U.S. Open. And that's when the U.S. Open was at the Sheraton Twin Towers. This is many years ago. And, there was we were the highlight of the evening. We were the last thing to go. And it was just power breaking back then, power breaking concrete. And there was about 8 people that registered to break. But to the night of the event came around, there was only 2 of us, me and one of my students. So everybody else backed out. So I said, okay, what do you want? You want light? You want heavy? Here we go. So we each stepped up and we blasted, at least I think I did 8 cap block with a shuto. And, but it was a really great effect because we were in this big ballroom and there was probably, 3,000 people in this ballroom. And there was like a hush over the whole crowd as we were getting ready to break. And when that broke, it just echoed through the hallway. It was good. People went crazy. So it was a great way to start it out. Even though a lot of people backed out, and there was only 2 of us, it really went over well. People really, because let's face it, every dojo breaks. Whether you're testing or doing a demo, every dojo will do some sort of breaking. So everybody in the room is a martial artist, and if they're not, they're the parent of a martial artist. So everybody went crazy, and that was it. The next year, we did it again, but we opened it up to what we called creative back then. We just made it up. We just said, okay, let's just put a vision together, where there's a whole variety of different breaks, and then put it together. And if you want, you could choreograph it to music, to whatever. It's more of a showy type of a break. So you gotta perform, basically. But breaking stacks of concrete and everything else. And it was like really cool because after that second year, I won the first year, I won the first 5 years. And, but the competition started to like really kick in. Like by the 3rd year, we were having people from Germany, from France, from South Africa. I mean, basically all over Europe, from all over the United States. So all of a sudden the guys at the Open, Mike and Corey, wow, it's very visual. It plays well on TV, really plays well. So people like seeing all of that. So the ESPN shows, at one point were the highest rated, I do believe, of all the shows that they taped at the U.S. Open. The breaking was like just killing it. We were getting great reviews on it. I had people that would contact me and say, hey, I'm training in Okinawa right now, Sensei, and I just saw you on ESPN, and I'm telling you, I want to do that. I want to try that, and they show up the next year. So it really hit. It's when it took off, when ESPN came online, and then I think it was the 3rd year or the 4th year, they pitted me against a gentleman by the name of Bruce Haynes from Australia, who was at that time, I think he had won 35 world titles in breaking. He was like the preeminent guy. They brought him over to the U.S. and I was the defending champion from the year before. So they just had him and I go head to head. And Bruce is a great guy, great breaker too. The guy is like, he's just bad to the bone. He's a good guy too. But, he stuck up a stack, and I don't know if he just wasn't used to, because here we're used to breaking 16 inches, a lot of places around the world, they're breaking things that are like double that,
Yeah.
So in length, which, but, and so he only hit like 7, and, cause he had put like 14 up, but he only broke 7 of them. So naturally that's where it all started, that you got to be a thinker, not just a beast. So I had like 12 up or something like that I was ready to do, but I took off 4 so I would have 8. So all I needed to do was beat them by 1. I tell people, you want to go up there and like, I'm the greatest and I can break 50. No. Or do you want to just go up there and break one more than the last person and be the world champion? Sometimes you got, because I don't care who you are, sometimes you come down on it, you may hit just a little off or whatever, and then boom. But I knew 8, I was doing in my sleep, 8 2-inch cap lock shoot though, did that all day long. My only problem was I didn't readjust the stack, and yes. And that is the year that Mike Sawyer and Mike McCoy told, and Corey, that basically it was one of the best playing martial arts shows for the U.S. Open on ESPN, because I dislocated my shoulder. And one of the judges came up out of the crowd and popped it back in. And you could see it on camera where it just popped back in. So everybody loved it. The crowd went crazy, And and there you go. And I won the world title. But in the end, I dislocated my shoulder. But it made for great TV. So, because they had really built us up as the U.S. against Australia in this thing. So that was a lot of fun. I made a good friend in Bruce Haynes. He's an awesome guy, a great breaker, one of the greatest that ever lived.
Yeah, no, that's how I discovered the U.S. Open was Taekwondo at the time, still am, and watching different certain channels. And up here in Canada, we didn't have ESPN. We had the TSN, the Sports Network, which is basically like an affiliate of ESPN. So there's the ISKA, Creative Breaking. There was, I first saw Chip Townsend and Larry Field.
Yep.
Okay, so very well known breaker, right? And then ultimately those guys became my friends as well as you, and that's how I started. I watched you guys, went, okay, I want to do that, and made my way down to the U.S. Opens, and I made my career as a 12-time world champion between the USBA plus the ISA. But what you said very smart was you don't want to see that big monster guy that hit big stacks or trying to. You got to think. So I know if you look at most of my world titles, I was just using my head and strategy and outsmarting everybody. Like I only broke what I had to break because I wanted the world title or I wanted that particular title or that division or whatever it was. Like it was all strategic planning. That did it. Like it's not just us guys being macho and hitting stacks of whatever we're hitting just because. But now I know you spoke of creative break, that's obviously right now what I specialize mainly right now. That's like the only title that seems to elude me. I got like second, third, fourth, third, second. In the last couple of years, at the Kokoro Breaking, second and third. I remember in 2018, I placed second in creative breaking for the ISKA, and I kind of missed a half a break, and I had to hit it the second time to finish it. I remember going up to you afterwards, like, and because you're one of the judges that said, that cost me the world title. And you're like, yep. So like that half a little, that one block that didn't break, I had to hit twice, cost me the world title. It's like, it happens.
Hey, you know what? Sometimes it's a game of inches, right? I mean, it's just like if you hit over, or God forbid, it's like you got a holder that just hasn't been, didn't, for whatever reason. The 100 times you practiced it, he was great. It was just that one time that I saw another great breaker from Canada, Albert Mady,
Mhm.
and he was another one just like that. One holder, or a guy that was swinging through. He was doing a great break. He was taking a 2x2 across his shin. He put his leg up in a chamber position, and the guy was going to break a 2x2. I thought, that's awesome. And poor guy, the guy hit him like, he must have been a little timid. He didn't swing through. He hit him like 3 times and it didn't break. And it was like,
I remember seeing that, yeah. Yep.
yeah. And and it's like there's a lot of great breakers that are out there. That's what the last year that I broke when I won creative, I got the picture. There was everybody in a row. I mean, there was Sensei Bergamo, all the Chips people, everybody that went on to win many, many Larry Fields world titles. And I remember that year when they called my name, and I was that young. I said, okay, you know what? That was it, because now I was starting to approach, my 50s, and I thought, okay, let me get into the other end of it, and I did. I started doing work in LA, and I started doing all of that, and but I always stayed in touch by doing the head referee at the ISKA U.S. Open every year, and but that was just a good year. Everybody that I considered the best in the world were there at that time, and I was blessed enough to get first place again. I thought, okay, this is a good year to retire, So there you go. And, but those guys went on to do some great, great breaking. You got great guys like Larry Fields, Chip Townsend, and all of his guys and all Larry's people. And not to mention just, Sensei Ralph Bergamo, who just puts out a tremendous amount of great breakers. So, it went on to really grow from that point to where it's at today. And, kind of like a really cool thing. I'm glad to see that this one little thing that we started turned out to be like this, to be a worldwide circuit, more or less.
Yeah, so mentioning that, so the expansion of competitive breaking, at least in North America and a little bit in Europe, mainly Ireland and England, but like you have the United States started it, but then you have the USBA, WBA was kind of the next one, and then Larry Field had his elite breaker, and then I want to bring up now that you and Nick Sampry on the Canadian director, we have the Kokoro Breaking Federation. So we have like 4 or 5 North American breaking federations or organizations that, for the most part, work together. I think we need to work together a little bit more than what we do. But can you go over like the genesis of why you decided to create the Kokoro Breaking Federation and what makes it different compared to maybe some of the other organizations out there?
Okay. It was easy. That's an easy question to answer. My love just lies with breaking. I love to break. I love to train to be able to break stuff. And I want to see the art. I want to see the competitions. I want to see them all grow. And like in the case of Sensei Bergamo, him and I are great friends. We both have the same desire to see things grow in the breaking industry. We want to see it grow. And for me, that was just like a natural transition to start. I had been thinking about it for a while, just so we have more breaking events and there's more for people to go to. And at Kokoro, we try to, no, we don't try, we do put on good events, and we make people feel like they're at home. I'm not as rigid, shall we say. I mean, there's rules and there's everything that everybody has to go by. But, I understand some things when people come up, and, I'll listen to everybody. And because that's how we make our organization better, is to get some feedback afterwards and then say, okay, let's do some fixing in this area or that area. And you'd be a fool not to listen to people and try to make yourself better. So for me, Kokoro is just an avenue to give people a good breaking organization, something they would feel proud of winning and being part of, like yourself. You're our Canadian representative. So, we're very proud to have you on board. You're a great breaker. You always have been since the first day that I've seen you break. And you know what? It's just, we need more people like that. So whether it's ISKA, USBA, Kokoro, as long as we're out there just trying to bring the Tamashawara, the breaking competitions to the forefront, that's all that matters. All the other little stuff is, I don't have time for that stuff.
No, I know what you mean, Shannon. No, I totally agree with that. Yeah, it's like I feel like my opinion. I talked to several breakers on this, like Larry Field, Nick Sampson, and a few other ones. Like I kind of look at it like the old territory days of professional wrestling, where you have like, okay, I'm up here in Canada, right, and then we have the USDA is kind of more like the northeast, and then Kokoro is more of like Florida area, and like uh Larry Field's elite breakers in Texas. We all have our little territories or areas, and we all kind of come together at least once a year for the ISKA. So every territory has like something like you're developing your breakers in your area, and then we all come together to kind of showcase what we can do at the ISK. And I personally would like to see more of that, where maybe the different organizations have a rating system or a point system that can kind of feed into the ISK. Or I know we've been for the last couple of years we've been working with the IMAF as well. I've been down there the last couple of years competing down there with you guys as well. They maybe have some of the bigger competitions use all different organizations as like feeders or or qualifiers for these other ones.
You know what? I agree with that 100%. IMAF with Dave Sklar, Dave's been really great with us, and that's a nice event. That's a nice event. He draws a couple thousand people,
Yep.
and it's a nice full room. He always gives us the stage.
Yep.
We put on a great event with him. That's our world championships there, and we've had a lot of great people come through. Even Kokoro, like you mentioned, Nick Zambri. You know, he's a what a great breaker he is. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so there's guys, and Nick is the vice president naturally of Kokoro too. So little plug there for Nick, but he's a great guy, and he loves breaking. He wants to see it flourish, and as a matter of fact, we just confirmed that we are doing at the Pan American Games in Fort Lauderdale. We're doing an ISKA/Kokoro event. So, we're really happy to work with the ISKA, with Corey Schaefer and with Mr. Ralph Bergamo, but it's going to be a great event. It actually is going to be a qualifier for the U.S. Open.
Mm-hmm.
So for Saturday, the day of the big boy.
That's Saturday, May 18th, down in Fort Lauderdale. And then the weekend after that is my tournament, which is the
Correct.
Kokoro International Championship. And Nick Samples will be coming up to compete up there. He's gunning for the Ultimate Breaker Championship up at my tournament, and we got a half decent amount of breakers from my school, and there's at least 3 or 4 other schools that we have some breakers that I haven't seen yet. So it's going to be interesting to see how everything plays out.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I'm always looking for, new talent coming up through. I've seen it all over the years. I've been in this since day one, either winning it or being the center referee for every event since it all started. I've seen all the great ones come through on the stage, and it really is cool to see, and the personalities, everybody for the most part all get along. It's a great event whenever we all get together, and everybody's friends, everybody helps each other, but when you get on stage, it's all about the business. It's just
Yeah.
like when you step in the ring to fight. When you step into the ring to fight, you're good friends outside of the ring, even if you're dojo mates. But once you get in the ring, then it's all real,
Mm-hmm.
and then afterwards, you're back to being friends again. So that's
That's
the way
the,
I
yeah. That's the beauty of martial arts. Like when you are competing or whether it's fighting or whatever it is, you guys are basically competitors against each other or enemies, whatever you want to say. But then the second it's done, you go back to just being you, back to being friends. Because there's such a respect that martial artists have for each other because we know what we go through. And nobody can understand that unless you're a martial artist. I do have one last question. I know you have to go before you have your after school program and it gets really noisy in there. When it comes to creative breaking, because there's a lot of creative breaking. There's been a lot of spectacle. There's been a lot of more self-defense things. There's a lot that can go on in creative. As ISK judge that's seen pretty much everything in creative breaking, what what do you look for in a good creative breaking routine? Is it more like self-defense? Is it more power? Is it the spectacle? Or do you like to see a mixture of that based on the individual competitor and their personality? Or
Hey, you know what, Jonathan? You just said every one of those is wrapped up into one world champion.
Mhm.
I want to look at your routine and go, wow, wow. So You got to go over and above. You know, like you've been really good at that. You come up, you always make up some really good routines, and your breaking's outstanding. You know, I consider you one of the best top 10 breakers in the world. If I was to make a top 10 list, you would be on that list. So, and you've got to come at it with that. You've got to come at it with, I need to wow these people. I need them to just look at their face when I'm done and know that I did a good routine. And that all how you proceed through your break, how your showmanship, you know, do you take charge, your confidence, you know, and your success on breaking all your breaks, you know. If you get a guy that puts all those things together and then is successful at every one of his breaks, that guy's right, or a girl as it is now, could be at the top of the could win the world title. You know, all you have to do is come in and just give that wow factor. And that wow factor goes with every one of them. Your personality, you know, how you move around. Do you take control of the stage? Do you're showing us basically, this is my sandbox and everybody else is just playing in it because I'm allowing them. That's what I want to see, that kind of confidence, you know? And you have that.
That's actually what my master told me years ago was when you're on stage, you own the stage. Make the audience, like the people in the back row, make them feel you. You're not playing to the front row, you're playing to the back row. And if you're playing to the back row, the front row really gonna feel it. So
yeah, there you
really,
go. There you go.
yeah, so hopefully I'll be competing for 2024. I'm just waiting to hear them saying yes, I got to go to because I plan coming back with a vengeance after 4 years of not being able to compete because of COVID and everything else. But I want to thank you for your time. I want to be respectful of your time. So thank you for sharing a little bit of your story.
Hey, you know what? Thank you, sir. And like I said, I look forward to seeing you, you know, at the Open. And I'm sure I'll be seeing you Saturday with the big boys up there. So you just have a great day. And hopefully, I know we'll talk soon.
Yes, sir. All right, take care.
Thank you.